I'm here at the Canadian Tech Spotlight at DX3 with my good friend, Mitch Joel. Thanks so much for joining me today.
For you.
Thank you so much. And you have a new book coming out. This is very exciting.
Yeah, May 21st. It's exciting that we get excited about physical books.
I know.
But the book is called Control Alt Delete.
Okay, and I know what that means, but what is the book all about?
So it's funny, I spent like 5 years sort of trying to figure out if I wanted to write a second book, and I had these two sort of converging things happen. The first one was that I was uncovering that a lot of brands still sort of feel like they're in this murky place called hell when it comes to like figuring out how to connect their brands to people. And the second part was I kept being approached by people who were like, I'm not sure like what my career path sort of looks like in this crazy, uncertain world. And so I had this strange moment like in the shower, those classic sort of stories you hear, where I had these 5 movements that have changed business forever that nobody's doing anything about, which was sort of like how do you reboot your business, and it's based off of these 5 pillars. And the second part was how do you stay employable in it, and the macro concept was how do you stay employable in the next 5 years, and the idea is you have to reboot a lot of your thinking and a lot of the way you run business.
Now this is kind of a broader view for you in the sense that your past book, although it wasn't specifically about social media in the digital world, it did definitely focus somewhat on that. Can you talk a little bit about the shift and why you're kind of going this direction?
Yeah. So with 6 Pixels of Separation, the idea was that I tried to write it as an entrepreneur who used these very different media channels to build a brand, and then sort of demonstrated through other brands how it worked. The second one was more about like what is the world now? Like none of us look at it and go like, is mobile for real? Is Facebook for real? Is YouTube for real? Like these are all established brands now, and how do we interact with it and how does it change business? So for me, it was sort of the broader scope of like, what does a brand mean in this day and age? And to a certain degree, a lot of it was based off of this, like the sort of like, well, so what about social media? Like what now? And that was really the sort of catalyst too for this idea of like, what are these movements and how different are they? And what's funny is they sort of shore up to digital, obviously in a certain way, but they're really more sort of like, wow, like I didn't think my business needed to think differently about what a direct relationship is or what data and information means and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun to sort of go broader.
I'd love to just talk for a second about the publishing experience, because like you mentioned, we are excited about a physical book. We're still excited about physical books, but how has your experience changed as far as the previous time you published a book and the focus more on digital this time in terms of the actual content?
I blog every day and it's like 1,000 words, and I do this podcast every week, and I write for Huffington Post and I write for Harvard Business Review, and just even the desire to write a book felt like, do I need that as social proofing? But what I realized and what I enjoyed so much about the writing process this time is that it felt like I had a chance to really deep dive. So like blogs and articles sort of come and go, and they have a very short half-life in the world of Twitter and Facebook timelines and things like that. So for me, it was a sort of in-depth component of it. And the digital part of it was just the fact that we read differently now. But I don't know about you, like I'm exclusively e-reader now. In fact, I only read books on my iPhone.
I only read 140 characters.
Yeah, so you're really. But I sort of like enjoy the experience of long form content digitally. And I think my whole space, just as a level of interest, is like, how do we deal with long form content in the digital channels? And I think books are still amazing. I sat down with my publisher and they're like, people still buy books, especially business books. They like having them on their shelves. They like referring it to people. They like handing them as gifts. And so it's been interesting. Big difference though from the first book for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I remember the first time I saw you speak. If I'm correct, I believe that you were showing off a video, the Free Hugs video that made the rounds around the world. That was definitely a long time ago, a great video. But we were very excited in those early days about what was happening in social media. Can you talk about one thing right now that you're excited about? Maybe it's technology or a tool or the future of where things are going in digital.
Sure, yeah. A lot of it for me is like this sort of stuff, which is like the Up by Jawbone and wearable technology. I was at the TED conference last week and had a chance to wear Google glasses. And it was a big moment for me, not just in the sense of like what this wearable technology means, but I realized when I put on the glasses and was using them that we sort of think of like mobile as this thing where like you hold your device and touch it. And what you realize when you wear these glasses that first time is that it's actually not about your hands or touching, it's about your eyes and voice. And that idea of like user interfaces and our experience being really about like how we connect with our voice and our eyes, like we're talking now digitally, was like one of those like, wow, I need to focus on that. So that's one area that I love. Personally, I've been playing a lot in the robotics, drones, 3D area in terms of what it means to brands. And I actually started a new Tumblr on that. And I've been working a lot on that space and just trying to figure out what the commercial applications are of those things.
So we've come a long way from free hugs, basically. That's what you're saying.
Well, you know, Chris Anderson, who is the editor of Wired Magazine, his book Makers, he talks about us going from atoms to bits back to atoms. And it's literally that. You sort of look at it and go, wow, it's very physical, this whole digital thing now. And it's really exciting.
Very cool. So where can people get your new book or find out more information about it?
So pre-sales are happening right now. Amazon is a great destination. If you want to buy multiples, Barnes & Noble's is also a great place to do that. It comes out May 21st, so I'm excited.
Very cool. Thank you so much for
Thanks.
joining me.
Great seeing you.